Welcome to today's Q&A with the Myofascial Expert. Today's question comes from a longtime client. She wondered, I've heard you talk about resetting tension levels in the body. What does that mean? It's a great question, especially when I use language to talk to people that they don't use that language normally. It helps to find a common ground of understanding. So here's the analogy I like to use. If you think of the old boombox, I never carried around a boombox, but the boombox that used to take the big batteries and people would carry it around on their shoulder and they just crank that volume up loud. Now, I have been around people who've had that music cranked up as loud as it can go, and it just grates on my nerves. Imagine that that's representative of tension levels in some of our bodies, some people's bodies. That tension's just cranked up loud so that you can't focus on anything else. It's hard to think, it's hard to talk, it's hard to want to stay in that space because of the noise that's coming out of that boombox. Tension levels in the body can sometimes feel the same way. They're so high, our tension levels are so high that it's hard to function. It's hard to have good posture or more ideal posture because it's so much work. It's hard to think. It's hard to want to be around people. A lot of times, high and excessive tension levels in the body come with chronic pain. Those usually go hand in hand. So it's important to reset our tension levels, I consider, on a daily basis. I'll say regularly, but it's really important at a minimum on a daily basis, sometimes several times a day. So let's go back to the boombox analogy. If that particular boombox stays cranked up on high all the time, it's going to shorten the lifespan of that particular device. The speakers are going to wear out sooner. They'll start to get staticky. They'll start to not project sound as well as they should, especially if the boombox is never turned off, especially if the volume on that boombox is never turned down. There's a volume knob for a reason. It's to turn the volume up and down. Going back to our lived experience in our physical bodies, it's very similar. Our tension levels are designed and meant to go up and down. And to some extent, we can deliberately, quote unquote, dial them down. Now, most of us are familiar with what it means to dial them up, to ratchet up our tension levels. We've felt that when there's a situation, usually, sometimes, often, associated with anger or a need to defend, or there's confrontation, and you feel the tension in your body just start to ratchet up. Most of us are familiar with that. The dialing it back down sometimes is a skill that gets lost, which is really what this person was asking. What do you mean by resetting tension levels? Now, there are a lot of ways to do this. There are a lot of phrases, terms, a lot of different techniques for resetting tension levels. The most common one I hear associated with the work I do here, oh, well, this is like meditation. Yeah, depending on what your experience of meditation is, it can be. Meditation, in my understanding, in my world, is a way of bringing my awareness into my body. I am consciously in control of much of my physical experience when I bring my awareness into my body. Not out there, not to what's going on with others, not to that conversation, not to that problem, but here into my body. When I bring my awareness, my essence, my intuitive sense into my body, I naturally start to settle into my body. On my studies with movement as metaphor, I learned a lot about this metaphorical sense that I live in, and that I think a lot of us live in, of constantly being pulled forward. We're constantly looking to the next thing. We're constantly looking to move forward, to accomplish things, and all of our energy tends to get out there in front of us. Or we're living in the past. We're always reflecting and what could I have done differently and how could that have gone differently? And we can't quite let go of what's in the past. And so we're kind of drawn back there. But when my awareness is here, in the here and now, in the physicality of now, again, I start to settle in my body. As I do, I can deliberately start to slow my breath. Now, this isn't you can make this as formal as you want. I have taught breath work practices where we inhale for 4 counts and exhale to 4 counts, and then inhale to 8 counts and exhale to 8 counts, and make that slower and slower. You can use those practices, breath work practices, meditation practices, mindfulness practices, anything that brings your awareness into your body in a way that you feel physically, oh, I'm settling here. And then you start to slow your breathing. And then you start to quiet your mind. This for me was the hardest part for a long time. I call it monkey brain. It's when I have these voices, just these people up in my head that just chatter, 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 chatter. I call it monkey brain. These practices of resetting my own tension levels, that monkey brain, I can turn that off anytime. It's important when we're constantly thinking, or constantly doing. Again, that requires a level of muscular tension to do those things. We've got to dial it back occasionally. Like I said, minimum of once a day. So what I mean, this was kind of a long answer, when I talk about resetting tension levels, I talk about, or what that means to me, is a deliberate practice, a deliberate habit, a deliberate focus on bringing my awareness into my own body, slowing down my thoughts, slowing down my breath, and actually being present here in this moment. Music can help. Formal breathwork practices can help. Some practices of yoga can help. But it literally should feel like a slowing down in your body, a dialing back, even if it's only momentary, of tension levels, almost like your body takes a deep breath and goes, oh, and it feels better. It's essential to do because if we keep our volume, our tension levels on high all the time, just like the boombox analogy, our body's not meant to function constantly, day in and day out, with a high level of tension on our muscles, on our bones, on our organs, on our tissues, on our cells. We're not meant to function long-term like that. We have this internal way of calming and slowing and being present for a reason. We have to maintain that ability to move from higher tension to lower tension. If we don't, our ability to soften, our ability to decrease tension, we gradually lose that and we start to just stay stuck in this high tension functioning. Again, that's where I see many people struggling with chronic pain because their tension levels stay up here. They might not be all the way up here, but they're somewhere in between all the time because they've lost the ability, the awareness of how to actually bring them down. And even if it's only there, that's an improvement. But over time, with good help from a myofascial release therapist, you can bring them down even more and more and more. Now, for myself, I used to think, oh, if I learn this, if I get enough space in my body, enough space in my myofascial tissues, it means I'll just live in this nice, calm place. You can probably laugh with me because that's not reality. We are actually meant to move back and forth between experiences. That's how we experience joy. It's how we experience life. It's how we learn. Our body is designed to adapt. It's designed to respond. Sometimes that is with, again, a quick ratcheting up of tension in the body. It's also designed to slow down and soften. So, if you need some help resetting tension levels, I'd love to chat. This is a lifelong practice. Again, this is something that should happen in my world daily. At a minimum once, usually it happens several times a day. So I just settle back into my body and into my lived experience of, oh, I'm okay. Sometimes it simply comes with that sense. I'm okay. If you'd like some help, reach out, give us a call. Great question today. How do you reset tension levels in the body? It's kind of a nutshell experience. We'll have some videos later on actual practices that we use here to help you experience that. If you have any questions, reach out, give us a call. We'd love to chat. See you soon.